We acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land on which Pymble Ladies College is built, the Darramurrugal clan, and pay our respects to elders past and present. As we share our own teaching, learning, and stories within the college, may we also pay respect to the knowledge embedded forever within Aboriginal custodianship of country. We would like to extend our acknowledgement to our First Nations students, families, and staff, and thank them for sharing their culture within our community.
Paris Zhang graduated from Pymble in 2014. She studied science and English at Tulane University in the United States, where she received a sports scholarship for swimming, and she is now completing her postgraduate degree at Sydney University.
Today we are speaking to Paris about her journey so far to help us discover the benefits of pursuing a sports scholarship at an overseas university.
How are you doing, Paris, today?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Thanks.
That sounds good.
We have a few questions for you today, and we were wondering if you could help us with answering them.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with high school. How are you able to balance intense, long training times with studying, while studying?
Yeah, I think year 12 was quite a difficult year. I was taking some pretty hard subjects. I think I was doing bio, chem, in both 4-unit maths and 4-unit English, and it was quite hard to balance that with 7 sessions in the pool.
Yeah, definitely.
But what I found really helpful was the PES program that we had at Pymble. Miss Halliday, one of my favourite people and favourite teachers ever, she was really good in allowing us athletes to have a safe space at school to kind of decompress with the stress that we were experiencing. We had a little group of other athletes that we could talk to, and we could just have study time. So in between chapel, or it was tutor group.
Yeah, chapel, yeah.
Yeah. And that I felt like was extremely helpful because I was struggling a lot with, obviously time management is a big thing, but especially in year 12, you feel like you're kind of not alone, but sometimes you feel like as an athlete, you're doing this on your own.
Yeah,
but it was really nice to have a group of kids, a group of girls that were kind of going through it with you. Yeah. But I think, looking back in year 12, it was really friends and family that really got you through. And I know that's cliched, but it's
definitely
true.
So that kind of led us on to our next question on where you got the help you needed to apply to an overseas university. Apart from within the school and with your friends and families, was there anywhere you looked for inspiration or how did you know that you wanted to do it?
Yeah. I guess I'd always knew about swimming competitively as an NCAA athlete in the US, as it was an avenue that was better than staying swimming in Australia because there was more funding. Yeah. And I had always wanted to travel after school, and I thought it was quite neat that I could combine both. As for searching or knowing where to look, Miss Halliday was my first point of contact. She had a lot of experience with previous athletes, and she kind of told me what I needed to do, which is start looking at your times, your results, and comparing that with the athletes in the US and kind of seeing where you could go from there, and then contacting coaches. So I was quite lucky. I had another swimmer. He was needing some help with SATs, and his coach asked me to tutor him. And kind of as a thank you, he also... he had been an athlete in the US 20 years ago, and so he had some contacts, and I was able to get my information out from him that way. So I would say that it's really important to make connections within your community in your sport, that you kind of never really know where these kind of connections could come from.
Yeah, that's great. So what was your life like overseas? Like I said, I know you said you were looking to go overseas, and swimming kind of just fell into that. So what was your life like over there?
You mean a routine, day to day?
Yeah, what you enjoyed and stuff like that.
Okay. So I was there for a total of 5 years, 4 years that I was swimming for, and I would say it was an absolute whirlwind of a lot of challenges. I had meeting new people and I was living in New Orleans, which is this incredible city full of culture and really good food, and it was so different from Sydney. And I was also away from home for the first time as an 18-year-old, and navigating all of that. It was just such an enriching experience. But I would say in terms of the training, it was also quite difficult in that regard. I mean, I had been swimming, for, I don't know, 10 plus years in Australia, but actually college swimming was an entirely different experience than swimming in Australia.
Yeah.
You're really surrounded by your team. You're living on campus. You're living with your best friends. But you're also going to school. Like your world kind of shrinks in that respect. But I would say, I think it really challenged me to kind of, and this is also very cliched, I'm so sorry, but it really made me into more confident, because then I was able to see that I could overcome these challenges that were set. Like the training was incredibly hard, as you can probably imagine. But, you learn to navigate the difficulties set by your coach or, your teammates, because conflicts are inevitable, right? But then you kind of go through them just day by day, and the time kind of passes before you know it, it's over.
Yeah. Don't want it to be, but it is.
Yeah.
You've touched on this a little bit already, but what was a major setback you faced and how did you grow from it?
Oh, I feel like there were so many setbacks, right? For example, in my freshman year, like few months into the season, I had a concussion in the pool. Jeez. And it was, I know, and it's like, it was kind of like we were swimming and I don't even know how it happened, but like two of us ran into each other. It was like one of my best friends, and we both had concussions and we both taken out. And it was really frustrating because with a concussion, there's not a lot you can do except to wait and recover. And I'd also, like, being the first year, you kind of go in trying to prove a point. Like, this is why I was recruited. I want to swim fast times. I want to swim fast in training. And I had to kind of stop and rest for about 3 weeks. And it was just quite difficult for me, at least as an athlete, to say, like, I was questioning why I had come. Like, just things that, like, that happen with injuries. I never really sustained an injury before. And it's also an injury that, it's not visible either. And I was experiencing headaches and fatigue and, a lot of these things that were, like, really not the most pleasant symptoms. But I think it actually made me a lot closer to my freshman year roommate, who became my best friend. And because we both got through it together. And then I'd also say it made me a better athlete, because I had to learn to listen to my body and to listen to my limits, because there were times where I had headaches, but I wanted to swim. But I just wasn't allowed to. And that was frustrating. But then you start to realize, like, what your body is telling you is really important.
Yeah, that's definitely good. Do you know, like, when you were swimming over there, did you know what you wanted to do after university, or were you kind of just living in the moment?
I was kind of living in the moment. I kind of knew I wanted to be on the pre-med track. And so that was quite helpful. And then I had a look at the list of majors that were part of the pre-med track. And so neuroscience sounded pretty interesting to me. The classes, I was told that the classes, you could involve, like, brain dissection. I was like, yep, I'm down. And then I kind of just went with it. And then in my sophomore year, so my second year, I had a professor tell me I should major in English as well, because she was my English professor in freshman year, because you all have to take English classes. And then I was like, okay, why not? And then so I ended up graduating with a double major in those. I was also told I should. So these things happen, I guess. I didn't really have any direction for myself. But the English department also contacted me at the end of my junior year, my third year, and they said, we really think you'd be a good candidate for our master's program for English literature, which is a 4+1 program. And I was like, okay, why not? And I stayed on and did that too. Yeah.
So you kind of just went with the flow, kind of what happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So in the moment, I mean, obviously now looking back, I have the benefit of hindsight. It kind of seems like I knew what I was doing all along, but you don't. And so you just kind of go, you are really influenced by the people around you, I would say. And I had a lot of friends who were in my major, and we kind of just went through and did it together. And we were all faced with a lot of uncertainty, but you kind of, you deal with it. Yeah.
Just finally, we were wondering if you had anything you wanted to tell the aspiring athletes right now at Pymble who are thinking of pursuing sports overseas.
Oh, I would say absolutely go for it. It's like the best decision I've ever made. Like I will tell anyone, if you have the opportunity to go, it's something like sport sets you apart from other candidates who want to go to the US. And as an athlete, I think you get a lot of perks and privileges in the States. And why not take advantage of them? Because you will only get this chance probably once in your lifetime, or at this age range. And it's the best opportunity to kind of visit the world, look at what's out there, out of like the Pymble bubble. Yeah, go for it.
Well, it was really great talking to you today. We really enjoyed all of your insights on pursuing sports overseas at university.
We hope you like the best of luck for all your. Are you studying neuroscience now?
I'm studying medicine.
Medicine.
Yeah.
Wish you luck with your medicine.
Thank you. I'll need it.
Thanks for joining us in this episode of the Futures in Focus podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. For more episodes, you can find us on YouTube at Futures at Pymble or by visiting bit.ly/Futures Pymble.